Hey, this is Don from Padlock Technology again with a quick question, kind of guidance question this time. It was, do network engineers need to be software engineers? And this is more of a network programmability, network automation question. So I'm going to answer this from my perspective. I know other people will probably say something different, like DevOps teams, they would say something different. But here's what I'm going to say. Do you need to be a software engineer? Absolutely not. Right. And in my opinion, that's kind of that's what's taking so long for network engineers to come up to DevOps, right? This unicorn that everybody's looking for, right? Because take it from some of my two CCIEs and a whole bunch of other network experience, right? It takes a very long time to become an expert in your whatever discipline. If you want to be an expert software engineer, it takes you a long time to learn all those different languages that, these companies want you to learn. And I think it's like 40 of them every day. They just have a new software language that they want you to learn. You look at some of these job descriptions, they want you to have 10 years experience in a thing that came out 4 years ago. So go figure that, right? But it takes you a very long time to amass the knowledge and the experience to actually claim to be an expert at something, right? Again, I've been doing this for 20 plus years as a network engineer. But with the knowledge and experience, I can actually say I'm an expert in network engineering. And I will humbly say there's still stuff I don't know, right? Because networking is so wide and so deep that once trying to be an expert in everything, virtually impossible, right? Because you're gonna not see techniques, things change, stuff like that, right? So how this how this relates to, you know, do I need to learn be a software engineer? No, you don't. You just need to know how to use the languages in certain products to assist you with certain tasks, right? Automate certain tasks. The problem with the industry, unfortunately, is software engineers and network engineers talk two different languages. They don't look at they don't look at the world the same, right? So trying to teach a network engineer software engineering concepts and they don't deal with that on a daily basis, you're kind of going to lose the network engineer. I always say you can be a great network engineer and a okay programmer. You know how to get certain things done, but you're not going to be expert level at that. Or you could be a phenomenal programmer and an okay network engineer. It takes too long, and the disciplines are not they're not seamless. It's not like, oh, network engineering goes right into software engineering goes right into network engineering. They're two different disciplines that go in two different directions. So you got to try to get as close to the middle as possible, right? But again, there's certain things you will need to know. Like, okay, perfect example. Do you need to be a Python expert? Absolutely not. Do you need to be do you need to know, open flow and all that good stuff? Depends. Here's the thing. There's certain technology, if you want to do network automation, you need to know. Do you need to know Python? Yes, but you need to know a subset of Python. Do you need to know Ansible? Yes. Jinja, two templates? Yes, if you really want to get into network automation. The problem, though, is the people that are teaching, they're not network engineers, so they can't really relate. And this is some of the struggle that, I'm going through trying to, brush off my old programming hat because I kind of stopped doing programming to move into network engineering, right? Because originally I was going to be a software engineer, but I pivoted to network engineering because I like that, right? But now that I'm going back to, learning, Python all over again and Ansible all over again, you take some of these classes and you can tell like, okay, the people that's teaching this, they're really on the software development side. I mean, I took a course about Python and they started talking about Django. and it was a Python for network engineers course. And I was like, well, why are we talking about Django? Because Django is the front end. That's front end development. Why do I need to know about Django? That is the problem with the industry. They're not focusing, at least from the network engineering side, they're not focusing, hey, I'm going to teach you what you need to know about this specific piece of software or program so you can do your job. It's always, I'm going to teach you basically how to build a website, right? And you're like, I don't need to know that. So to answer your question, do you need to be a software engineer? Absolutely not. Here's the things you're going to need to know. Python up to a certain point, right? You need to know fundamentals, data types, string values, integers, conditional conditional statements, if, else, stuff like that. Loops, for loops, while loops, dictionaries, list, tuples, right? How to manipulate files. And this is where you're going to need to learn some Linux. Like, just to be honest with you, to be a network engineer, you're going to have to learn some Linux. It is what it is, because you can do a lot of things faster in Linux. Linux opens up a wide range of stuff that you can do, and it will advance your network engineering capabilities, because then you have to know like CP, RM, move commands. You need to know what an absolute value absolute path versus a relative path is. You need to know CSP or SCP. Sorry, I don't know why I said CSP. SCP to copy files to and from. Especially when you look at some of the new stuff in the Cisco world or in Juniper world. Anyway, it's all Linux on the back end, all Python on the back end. So learning Python, at least at a subset level of the stuff that you need to know to just be a network engineer, will help you in the long run, right? What's a YAML file? How do you properly structure an Ansible? That's another problem, because if you look at how to structure your Ansible folder, if you go Google that, I've seen at least 5 different ways to do it. 5. I did 4 for some reason. 5 different ways to do it. And I'm going to hit you with a little secret. Pick one way, learn that one way. Just leave it at that. That's the problem with the software engineering world, is they have 10 different ways to do one thing and everybody says their way is the best. And it's kind of all over the place. Some of the documentation is old, but that's with any technology. And you just got to stick to your way that you are comfortable with, and then you go from there. Then you can deviate once you master it. But don't look at the 5 different ways and say I have to master all 5 different ways. No, you master 1, maybe 2. And as long as it works, you run with that, and then you start working on optimizing once you master. It's mastery, then optimization. That's what anything. That's what network engineering, software engineering. You master the technique, and then you optimize what you mastered. And then that will speed up your development of things. Okay. So what you need to learn, again, to recap, Python, the subset of Python. You need to know NetMiko. You need to know, I think there is like PyATS, Ansible, obviously, you need to learn that, which is just behind the scenes is Python. It's like a wrapper for Python behind the scenes. Somebody that's an Ansible person probably kill me for saying that, but that's really what it is. But that's really it. NetMiko, Paramiko, Pi, ATS, and Ansible. And once you kind of learn you're in that area, and you have the Python data type fundamentals, you know how to manipulate a list, you know about a tuple that you can't manipulate that, you know how to do dictionaries, you know how to do a for and while loop, you know how to manipulate string values. This is where, you know how to do regex values in Linux, because I just did a video about regex on BGP, which is totally different than regex in Linux or in Python. Once you know that stuff, now you can start, you know, playing around with it and helping you with your network automation. All right. So you don't need to be some, expert software engineer. That's not going to happen, because if you try to be an expert software engineer while you're trying to be an expert network engineer, you're going to end up being an expert software engineer and an okay network engineer, because you're going to deviate so far past what you were originally learning in networking that you're going to have to struggle to get back to the middle, especially if you start going in that direction. You get a career in software engineering. Eventually, you're just going to forget your networking stuff unless you're doing it on your own. So hopefully that answers your question. This is Don from Padlock Technologies. Don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Thank you, and have a nice day.